All right. Give me one second, everybody. Cool. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us here. This is the Ringing Cedars Community Call. My name is Gabriel Miguel, for those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting directly yet. And I'm the executive director of the Anastasia Foundation. We are building and serving the Ringing Cedars movement in the entire English-speaking world, just internationally, doing everything we can to connect and inspire Ringing Cedars readers. So it's an honor and a pleasure to have you all here. See a lot of my good friends on here, so this is always wonderful. So the intention with these calls is that this is the Ringing Cedars community call. We just come together and have a very open discussion about all kinds of Ringing Cedars related topics. And, you can share stories, experiences, ideas, ask questions to the group. Usually this turns into a really engaging and active discussion, and nobody wants to leave by the time we have to go. So it's always a lot of fun. And yeah, so just feel free as we're going along to kind of just join in, or if you just want to sit back and listen to what's going on, then that's perfectly fine too. So I like to start these calls by having everybody share in the chat your location. It would be really great if you can just type in the chat what city and state you're in. Normally, we wind up finding some people who are close to each other. It's always cool to see where everybody's at. We got Pennsylvania here, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was there one time. It's amazing. Loved it. North Carolina, another New Mexico.
I don't know how to do the chat, but this is Zara, and I moved to South Florida, so now I'm in Lake Worth, Florida. That's where I'm living.
Got you. South
Florida. For the foreseeable, and it's sad because it's not like this is the ideal place to be doing like a Kin's domain or something, but I'm in grad school for Chinese medicine. And I see myself here for 5 years for the foreseeable future, which is kind of sad. I'd like to be developing, but I still have my place in North Carolina. I have 27.5 acres.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So I'll just put that in the hopper. Thank you.
Is that on the coast or like near the mountains?
No, neither. It's like in the Piedmont area, and it's not far from Virginia, but it's north of Chapel Hill, about half an hour. So I say from Chapel Hill, it's halfway to Virginia, to the north.
Gotcha.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think I kind of get it.
It's in a rural district, and I found out that it's horrible to live in that particular district because I tried to grow bees, and they all died from all the agricultural chemicals that are sprayed, because it isn't an agricultural district. So there's just tons and tons of chemicals that are sprayed, and that makes me very sad.
Mm-hmm.
And also I had a natural spring on my property, and it looks like it's dried up, which also makes me very sad.
I see. Well, if it was there, you can restore it. It'll take some time.
Okay. But, so I have to dig or something there?
Well, you just start planting trees and other things that'll
help. No, it's surrounded by trees already.
Okay. I see. Well, I don't know enough about the site, but anyway.
These look like they're for like outdoors in the summer or something. Yeah. Should I put them outside or keep them like in a? Where's a good spot?
So it looks like we've got a couple New Mexico here, which is cool. I don't know if Deming is close to Santa Fe, but maybe you guys might want to connect. And then Ellen is going to be in New Mexico next month, which is exciting. Beautiful, guys. I just love to see where everybody's at. We've got another Canadian here. I'm probably the only other Canadian here. I'm in Saint Agathe, Quebec. So beautiful. And so I want to start by just giving some updates. I think there's a lot of exciting events that you guys will be interested in. So one update from the foundation is that Nina Imagery, who is Vladimir Magri's granddaughter, and she runs the publishing house for the Ringing Cedars books in Russia, said that she wants to do a event with us where we're going to be interviewing Vladimir Miguel and asking questions. like a Q&A, like a live Q&A.
Wow.
So everybody will be able to join and hopefully be able to ask your questions and have them answered. So we will see how that goes, but that'll probably happen within the next month or so. So I'm just going to coordinate that with her. So that's exciting. The last event he did with English speaking people, if I recall, because I'm usually pretty aware of these things, is our event. In 2016, we did a readers gathering with him. And I think that was the last time he had anything to do with Americans directly. So it's pretty cool that, you know, all this time later, he's circling back with us, and pretty excited about that. And hopefully that will launch doing more events with him in the future. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple times, and Nina, and we've got a good relationship there. So that'll probably be in the next month or so. So everybody will know about that well ahead of time. Another cool piece of news is that I'm not sure if everyone here is aware, but we have an ongoing series called the Russia-America Exchange. If you go on our YouTube channel, you can check that out. But basically, we speak with different people living in Russia, people who are like founders of Kins domain settlements, people who run schools, for example, based on like Shetinin's model, families living on their Kins domains, other people who are involved in the movement and knowledgeable and experienced, and they come on a Zoom call and they share their wisdom and knowledge with us. It's a Q&A. The events are 3 hours, and we got a couple of them on YouTube. They're very informative. So if you want to dive into that, I would suggest to do so. It's very enlightening. But the next one is going to be on the 26th. We are speaking with a man who was on our first exchange call. His name is Nikolai. He runs a forest school in Gelendzhik in Russia, which is on the Black Sea. It's the town that Anastasia mentions so much in the books. And that guy used to spend a lot of time with Shetinin directly, and got a lot of advice from him, and has been running his own school for a while there. So he's very experienced, knowledgeable guy, has started a really successful forest school. And then the other guy is, his name is Vitaly Kuzovkin, and my Russian friends, forgive me for my pronunciation, I'm trying. But he also runs a school in the vein of Shetinin. It's a larger school. I think it's probably the largest school that exists that is, doing things the way Shetinin, the way Shetinin taught. Shetinin school is currently closed. It's kind of operating in like a covert kind of way, but it's closed. So for those of you who didn't know, it was shut down because of like some fire code violations and some other things. We don't have to get into that here. But Vitaly's school is basically the school that is carrying that flag the strongest. And so if you guys are interested, I've got a bunch of links here that I wanted to share with you about his school. They've got a YouTube channel. There's a nice 20-minute video about their school, and you can see what they're doing there. So I just dropped all that in the chat. They have a little Facebook group too. And they have an Instagram page, which is really good. So we'll be speaking with him, probably some of the students, probably also some teachers from Shetinin school, which will be really exciting. So you guys will be able to join, ask questions live, and that'll all be recorded for everyone after. So that's the 26th of this month. We'll be doing that. Excuse me, I just had some lunch a little while ago. And we'll be doing one more call after that, probably in late March. We're going to be speaking with a bunch of bards from Russia. So we've confirmed with 4 different bard groups in Russia that want to come on and speak with us. So we'll be talking all about music, the importance of music, why every movement has its music, the spiritual importance of music. They'll be sharing. They'll be performing music live on Zoom for us all, and we'll get to speak with them. That'll be another 3-hour thing. You get to ask your questions. So those are just some of the upcoming events. We've got the Vladimir talk. We've got the talk with the school founders and with the bards. So that's pretty exciting. That's all in the hopper. And another cool little piece of news is that our community platform is steadily growing. So for all of you who are familiar with the platform, that's great. And for those who aren't, we have our own Ringing Cedars social network, basically, which I am going to drop a link for in the chat if I'm able to spell it correctly. And you can go on there and you can meet people near you. We've got all these groups for various subjects. It's super active. I'd encourage everyone who's not a member there to join. It's growing every day. Speaking of growing every day, we are running Facebook ads and Instagram advertisements now to all the Ringing Cedars readers in the world, basically, but at least everyone who speaks English. So our platforms and community will be growing more and more, and more people will be involved. So that's funded by the donations that you send in to us. So that's how that money is getting used. We're trying to reach out and grow the audience, grow the community, and connect more people together. So that's all very generously funded by you guys. And that's basically it for my updates. I'm excited about all these upcoming events. Excited to have you guys join. So stay tuned on email and everything, and you will, you will be notified of all those things. And I don't know, to get the conversation started, there was a bit of there's a subject that I've been thinking about, which I think you guys might find interesting. And I'm not sure that everybody has thought about it in this particular way, but it's this idea that kind of is recurring through the series. Anastasia talks about, and spoiler alert for everybody who hasn't finished the series here, I'm not sure how far everybody is here. I assume most of us have read all the books, but in book 6, Anastasia is talking about these the Roman soldiers go and they invade some kins domains like the Vedrus civilization, and the Vedrus people are defending themselves and they're fighting back. And in book 2, Anastasia is talking about the bard and the husband and wife, the bards, and they were being invaded again, I think, by Romans, and they were well trained with their weapons and they were fighting back. And it's this idea, I call it protecting love, because I think sometimes people would think that, like, I don't think we really see, like, when Anastasia is talking about the Vedrus culture, all these young men, they were trained with swords and they knew how to use them proficiently, and they were very capable in defending their land and the people that they loved. And it wasn't out of a sense of aggression, it was just out of a sense of protecting what was sacred to them, and it wasn't out of a sense of, I want to cause harm to this person. It was, they're trying to cause harm to me, I'm going to protect what I love, but I'm not going to try to inflict anything more upon you, and I think it's a really interesting idea to think about in the times that we live in. There's all these protests that are happening, and people get really upset and people get really angry about what's happening in the world. And it's, I hope this is making sense, but there's this idea of nonviolence, and nonviolence doesn't mean not causing it means not having the intention to cause any harm. You can, like the Vedrus warriors, they inflicted light wounds upon the people that were trying to, invade them, but they didn't want to hurt those people. And, there's a difference. And it's just something that I've been thinking about. And, I just wanted to share that idea with you guys and see if that inspires anybody. It's about protecting what's sacred, not trying to have a violent intention, not trying to inflict harm upon anyone, but being capable of defending yourself and defending what's valuable to you and what you love if needed, being able to stand up for that.
Yeah, that's actually something I have thought about a lot more so in the past year. And it only makes sense to defend the innocent and defend our domains. If you think about book 3, when the men try to capture Anastasia, you know, even her has these situations.
Right.
You know, of course, we might not have the abilities she does, so maybe we have to use other methods to defend ourselves.
Turn
But
rocks into stone and dematerialize bullets.
right,
Yeah.
maybe one day we'll get there. But you know, I own a gun, and you know, I think self-defense is a great skill to have.
Right. It's like all the Vaderus people had swords than the women. And Anastasia said in book 2 that there was this woman who was the mother of this child that she had with the bard, and she fought against the Roman soldiers for like 6 hours alone, defending them. And I'll just say she didn't get proficient with that sword out of nowhere, and that was something that they thought about. But she wasn't aggressive or trying to cause harm to people, and she was protecting what she loved, you know. And I think there's this spirit that's really valuable to have, because sometimes people can confuse like harmlessness, like with virtue, you know, that not having any teeth in any way. I'm not saying we need to go out and be violent. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it you know, there's this at some point, you know, what if something of yours comes under threat, and then how do you respond? You know, I'm not saying that we're ever going to be in life-threatening situations, but if it's a values thing, like someone is questioning your morals and, you know, questioning your lifestyle, and you have to defend what it is you live in, what you believe, you have to stand up for it. You know, in Autobiography of a Yogi, I don't know if you guys see the picture of Paramhansa Yogananda here, but in Autobiography of a Yogi, he describes his guru as softer than the flower where kindness is concerned, but stronger than the lightning when principles were at stake, you know. And I just think it's something really important to think about, you know. And I don't know if that inspires anybody here, if you guys want to talk about something different, but that was on my mind in the last week or so. I see Jeanette, you've got your hand up here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm inspired by that for sure, because I believe that, so I'm just now getting into the books, but I'm already, you know, just by listening to you guys, I already feel like I'm definitely of like mind. But just like with nature, I mean, nature in every aspect is going to, you know, the intent isn't ever to harm, but it's out of survival or to protect itself, you know, like a mother bear, you know, with her cubs. You know, if you happen upon them in nature, chances are, you know, she's going to protect herself and her cubs.
Right.
It's not like she's out seeking to cause you harm. I think the intention is survival, and if that either means food or to protect themselves, I mean, I think that that's kind of the way of nature. I think we need to kind of, you know, if we're going to be in harmony with nature, that protecting ourselves in, you know, spiritually, emotionally, physically, we have to embrace all of those things.
Right.
So
yeah, or like when we're living on our land, when the first settlements start to get built in North America, and we, you know, what if some oil company wanted to come in and say, we're just gonna eminent domain your land and start drilling on your land? You know, that's not a violent thing, but how are you going to respond in that situation? You know,
right.
are we willing to stand up and have some teeth behind our actions? I see Mark and Willix here, so if either of you guys wants to go. I think Mark had his hand up first.
I still like that where they sent the children and the bees
Yeah, right.
to take care of those invaders. So it was quite a beautiful way of dealing with them.
Right. Yeah, to them it wasn't even a big deal. They just sent the bees out and sent the children Jeanette, you'll get to that later in the series. There's a fantastic, I hate to spoil it because it's so good when you read it, but yeah, that's an amazing story. So Willix, I saw you had your hand up. It's nice to see you, by the way. Thanks for joining. It's always good to see you.
Hey, how you doing, man? Yeah, what you were speaking about, from my understanding of universal law, we have a divine right to remain unharmed. And when you look at it from that perspective, we've been given the God-given power to remain unharmed. And you can see that from like many different perspectives, like what Jeanette mentioned about mama bears. When you think about it, the mama bear is coming from a position of pure unconditional love for her cubs. Unconditional love. Now that's what unconditional love looks like in accordance with our divine right to remain unharmed and to protect those who have been given, that we have, governance over, right? And, if you're on the receiving end of mama bear's unconditional love, it doesn't look very, pleasant, and it doesn't, resonate with what we've been like programmed to think what love looks like. But that's love, unconditional love. And they'll go up against a male bear twice their size, fearlessly, or whatever the challenge is, to defend from a position of unconditional love her cubs. And we have that same divine right to protect that which is ours and that which we love. And if we come from that position of unconditional love, when we go into that protective mode, then that invokes a very powerful universal force on our behalf. And we see that in the animal kingdom in mother bear love.
That's well said. And that's why I think of the idea, I call it protecting love. That's just the principle. That's the way I see it. So I don't know who put their hand up first, if it was Ryan or Wyatt. I see a few hands up here, but one of you guys can go if you want.
I'll just go quick. You're mentioning the passage with the Romans and the Legion. And one of the parts that struck me the most was when, I think it was like the sage or like one of the elders of the major civilization came up to one of the leaders and he gave him an apple. Do you remember this part?
Yeah.
And then the apple, because he like denied their request to leave peacefully or leave them be, like the apple that he gave them, I think it rotted like in an instant, or it like rotted really quick or something, like supernatural.
Rotted right in his hand.
Supernatural stuff. And I think if you can win a war psychically or win a war mentally, or when you always have to fight first in the mind space before it gets physical, is what I'm trying to say. So that's like I think that's the most important part to any kind of battle, is psyching out your opponent if you're going to actually follow through.
Yeah, like that passage where he said he offers the apple to the other soldier who is like a young man who is more innocent, and the apple stays in his hand and he eats it and he just is like writhing with pleasure because of how tasty it was. But then he offers it to the commander and it just shrivels in his hand and dies. And then they say like, this is mysticism, this is magic, like kill this man. And he's like, this is none of that, and he, it's crazy because we don't experience things like that, but it's completely real. That intention to harm made that perfect fruit just shrivel up in his hand, which is fascinating. But so I see Wyatt, I think you were the next one with your hand up.
Yeah, I'll be fast too. I think this is a super awesome point to be thinking about, because there's this like fine line of like, are we being the aggressor or are we being the protector? But what's coming up for me is like remembering in one of my philosophy classes the premise that Descartes makes, where he says that he who tries to deceive is actually full of malice and weakness, and is the weaker of the two. So I think it's like, jumping off what Ryan said, like it is starting like up here in the mind, like of this like knowing, a heart knowing of like, there's nothing that can defeat us. There's nothing that can kill us. We're eternal. And that feeds our strength. And I think that the physical actions, whether it's sword work or whether it's sending bees, becomes a instinctual sort of like, it just happens, you know, because you're already, you know, well, this is the course of action. You know, I don't think it's something that we need to particularly pay attention to, is like, okay, well, like, do I need to get my arms store up? Like, do I have my apple tree ready? My bees like trained? Like, you know, I think it's something that just, the universe, as I think it was Willick said, you know, will conspire to preserve us for sure. Those are just my 2 cents on the subject.
Yep. And David, I think you had your hand up next. Trying to go in order here.
Okay. Well, welcome. This is my first time on your forum, and I'm so grateful. I read the Anastasia books many years ago, and Dr. Shirashkin, when he came to Tacoma, we were there for the first time. He came and gave a presentation, and it changed our lives. We have a permaculture demonstration site on our property, almost 6 acres in Montana. So I'm just grateful to have found you all.
Thank you for joining.
This is
glad to have you here.
Yeah, you guys are great. So I'll get to know you all, you know, ongoing. This is a pretty interesting subject. I was part of a spiritual community for 30 years, and at the end of it, there's some people that, unbeknownst to many of us, had purchased guns and stuff, and that was pretty much against my own personal philosophy of why I joined the community. And so I ended up, you know, I was part of it for 30 years, and then I'm not any longer. I personally own one shotgun, just, you know, mainly for self-defense, but I've never used it, and I don't intend to ever have to use it.
That's the hope.
Yeah, that's the hope. But I believe in self-defense. However, I think the spiritual principles and values that we all hold dear, that we prevent it by having so much light and so much radiance and divine glory around us that the darkness can't touch us. And that, you know, some of you may have read the Dweller on Two Planets. If you've read that book, it's amazing with the Rye of Swearin. The power that he wielded was so great. He just held his hand up, and armies just marched back into the sea and were drowned because he just returned the darkness that they were projecting. So not that any of us have that much power that we've gleaned so far in our life, but I think the goal is to have so much light that the darkness can't touch us. And I'm a devotee of the Master Omar Mikhail Ivanhoff too, in addition to Anastasia, and his teachings are fantastic regarding this very subject. And I won't go into more detail, but thanks for having me, and love you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, welcome. I mean, filling ourselves with that divine light, you know, God's power, when it's shining through us at such a high level, really does shake the darkness and send it back. You know, there's a lot of stories of like Paramahansa Yogananda here doing things like that, where people were sent to kill him, and he just looked them straight in the eyes. And or one time there was a guy who came to his office and said he was going to beat him up, and he had a gun and everything. And he says, I warn you, don't do it. Don't step another foot. He says, I have divine power and I don't want to use it. But the guy continued, and instantly he fell on the floor and he was rolling and rolling. And he's like, I'm on fire. I'm on fire. He felt like his skin was burning, and he just, you know, sent that energy right back at him. Or even in book 3, I'm reminded of this now when they try to attack Anastasia, and God comes in the manifestation of that blue orb, and, you know, stops that whole thing, and he punishes the people that were trying to come against her. You know, he sends them through that experience of not being in control of their bodies and everything like that. So it's very interesting. We've had a couple other hands up here. Hazel, I know you've had your hand up here for a long time.
Oh, you know what? I think I forgot what I was gonna say, but it was probably something along the lines of like, I'm raising a very healthy boy, and there is such a thing as, you know, divine masculinity, and we have to remember, as you know, those of us that are parents, like coming from a culture that misunderstands masculinity. I don't know. For me, this is a journey of the heart, and it's such a joy to take part in this. And then maybe the other part I want to say is, I'm really excited about what's possible with microorganisms and insects. And I'm learning that, you know, okay, like maybe a year ago, I never thought there was anything possible with communicating with those small beings. But now that I do things like, you know, daily fermentation and, you know, growing different kinds of insects and animals and sort of, I mean, I don't want to say growing them. I'm living in harmony with them. They live with me, and we share, you know, I care for them. I really do think it's not that far away for us to be able to sort of direct them. That's all I have.
I agree. I think it's exciting. Along that point, we got an interview with Vladimir Miguel back in 2016. I can drop the link for you guys here in the chat if you haven't seen it, but it's on our website. And it was supposed to be for a magazine, but we missed the deadline for the magazine, and so we just had the interview. But at the end of it, he said within the next 18 years, he expects children being born on Kin's domain settlements to be able to travel psychotelepathically to other planets. Like he felt that within the next 18 years in 2016 that would start happening. And it's like, you know, to your point, Hazel, like, I don't think it's that far away, that story in the books.
Oh, by the way, my name's Carrie. That's just my kiddos, my older kiddos' name.
Carrie.
They sort of have been using my Zoom, so they've changed the name. I'm Carrie Anderson.
It says like Hazel Froggy. Okay, Carrie.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
it's nice to see you. I see you on Facebook and all the community. Oh, it's so nice to see you. We've never talked before.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Yeah. So yeah, like I don't think that stuff is that far away either. The kids being able to communicate with the bacteria. And actually in an interview maybe 1 or 2 years ago, Vladimir said that he expected that whole scenario from book 5 to start playing out soon. He said that we would be entering the armament race, the disarmament race. So he said that it would start happening sometime in 2021. So that was pretty interesting. Not sure what's going on right now. Maybe we're not kept in the loop on what's going on with the nuclear weapons.
You brought that up. So there is a bacteria. It grows in like all streams. Okay, I forget what it's called, but I'll try to post it soon. There's a few articles I found, and basically it eats metal. And if you could learn to cultivate that particular bacteria, and I don't know, I have ideas about how it could be used in disarmament that I've been working on. If anybody wants to collaborate with me on that, I'm so ready to try to work on that project. So
that's exciting. And Stanley, I see that you've had your hand up for a while. Appreciate your patience.
Gabriel, is it Gabriel or
Gabriel?
Gabriel. Yes, my wife sent me the link to this yesterday, and I was more than excited. We read the books out loud to each other in the last year. We
Beautiful.
love it. And I do have a Kin's domain here that is 2 acres, and I walk it every day, and it's in southern New Mexico in the high desert. But what I'm interested in, it may be kind of a redundant question, you may have gone over this, I don't know how many times you've been meeting, but do people have experiences, personal experiences they'd like to share about Anastasia? I call her Anastasia.
I have plenty.
Anastasia. Yeah, if that would be exciting because it's an exciting topic around this house.
I mean, I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in on that one. Um, I don't want to
No,
talk.
we want to hear your story.
Oh man. God, where do I begin? Um, hmm. Where are some times that that would be good to share here? Um, well, I'll tell you guys a personal story. It's a really personal story, but I think you guys will probably like it. Um, so I don't know if you've seen in the other videos. Um, I've shared a little bit about how I found the Ringing Cedars books, and I didn't find them in a good time in my life. I found them in a really bad spot in my life, and I was looking for meaning. And I had looked through all the religious texts of the world, and I couldn't find anything that inspired me. I couldn't, they're beautiful, and I understand like the wisdom, but it just didn't complete everything for me, you know. And I was deeply seeking truth, deeply seeking what it was I was going to do with my life, deeply trying to find out how do I do something besides just make money and you know, uh, do things that I don't care about. And I found the books at this point, and to make a long story short, uh, those words built me back up in a really amazing way. They took everything that I had already confirmed and gave more clarity to it, and kind of cleansed my soul, as Anastasia says, that the books heal people and overcome all these diseases. And the books really healed me in a great way. And I dedicated my life at that moment, halfway through book one, to serving Anastasia and serving that dream forever. And probably like a year and a half after that, I had realized that one night I was just thinking, um, you know, about how my life could have turned out had I not found the books. And what I thought would happen if I hadn't read the books was like really bad and really sad. And it really made me realize that, you know, in one way or another, maybe this isn't the best way to say it, but like Anastasia kind of saved me, to tell you the truth. Um, and she says, I will prevail through my soul, like through people, in people I will prevail through my soul. And she said that she shares the whole of her soul with people through the books. And I really felt that, and I really felt like it was she who kind of saved me. And one night I just kind of broke down in tears because I was so grateful for what had happened, and where my life was going because of it. And um, I started mentally talking to her in that moment, and I was saying like, just thank you so much. Like I don't know what would have happened if I didn't find the books, and who I am now and everything that's happened and how much healing I've experienced. I have endless gratitude. And this was like sometime uh, around the new year, I think. And I remember I was kind of sobbing for a little bit, and I was thinking this. And then one moment, my mind just got really quiet. Everything became really calm, and I heard a voice in my head. And and what did she say? It was like um, ah, it was like God bless you, many blessings to you, endless joy and happiness to you, um, and you're welcome. Like, of course, something like that was the message. And it was really comforting and really beautiful. And it was like this very calm and soothing voice. And I know for sure that was her. And there's been, I won't be shy about it, because she says that her thoughts are in space and she can communicate with all kinds of people if you want to do that. I've communicated with her a lot since then. She's very dear to me. She, it's interesting because you can tell that it's her responding, because the ideas or responses that she gives you are really smart. Not to say that I'm not smart or something, but they're unusual, and you wouldn't have thought that idea. You can tell it's someone with a larger intelligence is giving you that idea. Um, and so anyway, I've got a lot of stories, like so many stories involving her, but that was a really deeply personal and touching one. I definitely felt like she has been, um, you know, like there in a lot of ways. I don't know if anybody else has any stories. Sorry if that was too much, but that story means a lot to me.
That was awesome. Thanks for sharing.
I have a couple stories.
Please.
Well, every summer solstice, we have a gathering on our property, and I have a spiritual community. It's called the Heart Center, which I began with 7 other people in 2005. Anyway, we have an Anastasia in the Garden class where we come on our property and we do permaculture. And so she overshines me and shares concepts with people that are profound. Just one example is we have this beautiful apple tree in our backyard. And so the blossoms were out when we had our session. And she had every person just go up to the tree and love the blossom and talk to the blossom and tell it, they could pick a blossom and just tell the blossom how much they loved that blossom and to support its development into a fruit. Well, this year we had the biggest fruit harvest on that tree that we've ever had. And I felt like it was the essence of every person that was part of that class, their love that went into that tree and just profoundly impacted the tree so it could produce the best fruit. So that's just one little story, but there were many, many miracles on our property where she would just show up and give an insight. We had a lady come to our last summer solstice event who had been at in Scotland at the famous what's that famous place in Scotland? You guys all know it.
Findhorn.
Findhorn. She had been there. She had lived there for like 20 years, and she found 2 fairy wells on our property. She meditates, and the fairies tell her that there is a well here and a well another place. So we consecrated that space with little crystals and pine cones and rocks and things. And sure enough, you could feel the energy right there where there's a fairy well. So I'd never heard of that exact what a fairy well was. It's like a little ring, but it's not just where they dance around, but it's actually a vortex of light and energy. So it's very profound. Those are just 2 little examples, and there's hundreds and hundreds. They brought us a man who lived in Alaska for many years. He's 89 years old. He's lived in a teepee, and his communion with fire, the fire element, is so powerful. It's like when we start a fire and he's there, you feel the salamanders dancing around and enlivening all of us. We feel like we're in the salamander. We're actually in not just the energy of fire, but we become like a salamander and understand who they are as these beautiful fire beings. So that's just 3 little examples. I'll stop now. I could go on forever.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any stories? I think this is a super interesting topic.
I have a story.
Go for it.
Yeah. Well, this story, kind of goes back to like we were talking about, it's the love and how Anastasia talks about, the power of love. And this was probably about a year or so ago. There was like there was going to be like a Black Lives Matter demonstration down in Creswell, Oregon, which is a little tiny city. And there was a whole bunch of Patriot Trump supporters that were going to head down there, and when you get that mixed together, it's going to be like kind of, it could be very volatile. So, I wanted to go down and just check it out, just to see what it was, what the whole thing was all about, from a first person perspective, rather than just getting it from the news and everything. So I went down there and I was just mingling in the crowd, and everybody's doing their thing, yelling and screaming at each other and, standing in the streets and all that kind of stuff. And, after about 45 minutes of that type of, dual aggression, it got to the point where, people started physically grabbing each other and started like pushing and shoving. And at that point, something just happened to me, and I just said, I just don't want to see this happen. So I just started chanting the Sanskrit mantra Shrim, Om Shrim. And I was just coming from a place of just pure love in my heart. And within 10 minutes, that crowd of people that were in the circle doing all the pushing and shoving, they went from pushing and shoving to doing a prayer circle. I mean, they just stopped and they just hugged each other, and somebody did a prayer to, to Jesus, and everything calmed down right after that. And I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And, and I attribute it to like the, just chanting that mantra, just resonating love into that crowd, into that moment, and saw, the power of, how quickly it just changed the whole thing. From just going to like, violent, like where it was, they were grabbing each other and getting ready to punch each other out. And then after that, everything kind of quieted down and people start, shaking hands and apologizing and stuff, and everything dissipated. And, what we were talking about earlier about being able to defend ourselves and protect ourselves, love doesn't always have to be in mama bear mode. It can just be, in its essential quality as just love itself. And we project that into the situation. And there's a ex-Navy SEAL named Michael Jaco, who has a program called Intuitive Warrior. And he talks about, how he learned how to use his intuition to anticipate like attacks and stuff like that were going to happen, and how he used love to prevent attacks from happening, because he had got to the point where he was he started out being able to predict attacks like a day in advance, and then he developed his intuition to the point where he could go like a week out, and he got so good that people would be like asking him, hey, what's going to happen here? And he said that on several occasions, he had this vision of these suicide bombers getting ready to attack. And he just sent love out to them. He just sent a love bubble out to them. And he said, he was able to prevent the attacks, from happening, even though he had like a track record of calling attacks when they did happen. And so he teaches a class on how to do that. I'm taking his class now, but, we can't underestimate, like what Anastasia says about, being able to step into those vectors of love and just come at it and present it in all those cases. This guy's an ex-Navy SEAL. He's like a trained killer, and he's advocating sending love out to, to stop people from being killed in a wartime situation. It doesn't get any worse than that. Right. So
he could sense the aggression in the air, and he could see where it was coming from. He would direct love to those people. I think there was a study done at some point in a country in the Middle East that was in war, and they tested the effects of like a group meditation on the amount of violence happening in the war zone. And during the times when they would meditate, the violence would drop like dramatically. And so I think your story is really powerful, Willix, and I appreciate you sharing that idea of, it just takes one light to outshine the darkness. And
that was, sorry for interrupting, but that was the Maharishi Mahesh. He was really doing scientific studies with TM.
Right.
And when they got like so many tens of thousands of people, he said that if just a certain percentage, a very low percentage, I forget what it was almost like a fractional percentage of the earth would be doing these meditations, that it would generate peace on earth.
It did have a elastic effect where so if they were anticipating some kind of chaotic event and they would meditate for it, and they would, derail it so that it would be peaceful, it had an elastic effect where as soon as they stopped meditating, the violence would start again, and it might be a little worse than before kind of thing. It's a weird thing like that.
Interesting. Yeah, and I mean, to your point, Willix, like the physical manifestation of those things, that's the last stage of it. And if we have to go there, in order to protect love and protect the things that are sacred, then it all starts in that mental realm. I've had a lot of situations where, like personally with other people, where people weren't happy with me, and I'm sure a bunch of you guys have done this here. You picture someone and you send them love and you send them forgiveness, and then all of a sudden the next day they call you and they say, I'm sorry, or I wish that didn't happen. And that's super real, because that concentrated power of thought and energy, like Anastasia says, we're sending our ray at people, we're warming them up, we're sending them these good thoughts, sending them that love and forgiveness, like that coherence is super powerful, you know, and especially when we come together in a group, forget about it. It's just more so the idea of like, in any way that we need to step up and protect love and create more harmony, like will we, you know? And that's kind of what I was thinking about earlier. But thank you for Nancy for the that was Maharishi. I had heard about that like years ago. I hope that I like said that generally correctly. I think that's what happened. So I know, Mark, you've had your hand up forever. Thank you for your patience. If you still remember what it is you wanted to share with us.
This isn't a story, but the last I knew, which was a long time ago, that it was, you know, supposed to be the case. Vladimir was living in a kid's domain in Germany with his son Volodya, because someone there had donated land to him. And I'm wondering, A, if anyone knows, are they still there? Where it is? Did Volodya ever get married? I would, you know, Vladimir is somewhat accessible, and Nina, of course, but I would love to interview Volodya. You know, no one has seen any real evidence that they exist, and I fully believe they exist.
Oh, he does.
But I'm just wondering if anybody knows anything more about it.
I can tell you, and this was all published in the new edition of Book 1 that they recently published in Russia, but they added new chapters to the end of Book 1 that talks about what is currently happening, and specifically with Volodya. And he is in Russia, and he's a monk, and he's taken the spiritual name Theodoret, you know, Father Theodoret, Theodoret, you would probably say it literally in English. In Book 2, the Orthodox monk who Vladimir visits. So I think that in the new edition of Book 3, in the new chapters, Volodya appears in white robes, and he has taken the spiritual name of Theodoret. And it's my assumption that he has probably gone to seek spiritual discipline from Father Theodoret. Rightly so, given the amount of praise that Anastasia, you know, heaped upon him. And I don't believe he's married, because there's a point where a woman gives her hand to him and she like wants him to kiss it or something, and he says this will be a great temptation for me, but he kisses her hand. So I will share, if you want, the new chapters, Mark, and anybody else who's in the call here, I can share them with you. I have a folder here with the link, so I'll just drop it in the chat, but it's pretty roughly translated into English, but I don't believe that he is in Germany. Pretty sure he's in Russia, according to these new chapters. And Vladimir has a kin's domain in Russia as well. He published some videos like 2019, 2020 of him on his land, and I think even more recently, he did like a walkthrough of his domain. I could probably find it for you if you're interested.
Yeah, I would be very interested. And does anyone know anything about Anastasia? And is she still in Siberia, or does anybody know?
So I'll go out on a limb here. I know I forgot who brought up the topic earlier. I think it was maybe you, Mark, about experiences with Anastasia, communicating with her. I forgot who exactly brought it up, but this was something that I asked about. I was communicating with her one night, and I'm pretty sure her daughter is still in the taiga. Pretty sure that's what Anastasia told me, that she's still in the taiga, and she's going to be the one that stays in the taiga. You know how they say someone from their line always, you know, someone goes out into the world and is trying to spread this information and spread the light in the world, and then somebody always stays in the taiga. Pretty sure her daughter is going to stay in the taiga, and Volodya is the one who goes out into the world, and they're not having any more kids, presumably. So yeah, putting myself out there. Hope you guys don't think I'm crazy, but that's what I got.
Thank you. And just by the way, I hesitate to say this, it's not bragging, but I was personal assistant to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I worked very closely with him for 5 years.
Wow.
I carried the deer skin that he sat on and lived in the room next to him and brought him his food and was his spokesperson sometimes and all of that kind of stuff. He had a profound effect on my life, but nothing comes close to Anastasia.
I understand that. That's incredible. Yeah, so is there any other thoughts about the subjects that we were discussing earlier? I think that was a really interesting conversation. Or any other stories about experiences with Anastasia? I know there's one at the end of book 3, if you guys saw that in the editor's afterword. One of the there was a woman who wrote in to Leonid Sharashkin and shared her story about like a contact with Anastasia. So if you guys didn't see that, in the end of book 3, there's one. I see Vicky, if you want to, I see your hand up here. Is it?
That's me. I'm Oli, and a few things. I have, by the way, we live in Kanab, Utah, which is on the border of Arizona. We're just very close to the Arizona border in the western or the eastern part of the state of Utah. We, well, I'll say this. When we establish our kin's domain in the present condition in the United States, I will prepare a land patent which will be free of all encroachments by anybody. It will be under the Constitution. A man by the name of Ron Gibson has an outline in a book that delineates how to establish a land patent.
We'll be doing an event with Ron Gibson about land patents and kin's domains in the coming months.
Very good. Yeah.
Wonderful.
He confirmed us already.
Yeah, he's really, really good at it. Do you know if he has read the books by Anastasia?
No, I don't believe he has. But is the Robert William who's on this call, is this Rob from ANG or is this another Rob?
It's me, Gabe.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you're familiar. What was your name again, sir? I didn't hear you in the beginning.
Oli. O-L-E.
Okay, Oli. So I don't know if you, Ron Gibson also works with AMG, the American Meeting Group. And Rob, who's on our call right now, is co-founder of that group. I will share their website here in the chat. But so Rob is with us, and Rob is also an incredible mind on the law and sovereignty and all those things. And, you know, so Rob believes in, you know, Rob, I don't want to speak for you, but I'd love to hear what AMG is thinking, because I've received some really nice emails from your support and, you know, from your people and, you know, promoting what we do.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We all love Gabriel and his vision and what he's trying to accomplish and help people to accomplish, how to change their lives and give them a place, a sacred place where they can be free of the self-interest of people in commerce and trying to run the world through open commerce. It's getting pretty bad out there. And so it's nice to have a sacred refuge where we can
reconvene the manifestation of spirit and spiritual enlightenment, and cherishing sacred gifts and stewarding those sacred gifts with our hearts and with our discernment, and just to have what's been promised for us, what's intended for us, and not have that kind of interference that would essentially steal it from you, coerce it out of you. So yeah, we're really happy to know Gabriel, and I'm here because I like to hear the stories and meet the people that are naturally guided in this direction, not necessarily because they study law and history and ruling class and have any of that background. We get enough of that because we're in that space every day. But to just see real people, where their hearts are still open and their connection to that miracle of nature, and it's awesome to know that people are still guided that way and are willing to kind of step aside from the trappings of convenience and get back to the foundational principles of life and stewardship and our sacred nature. So I really I see that here, and it draws me strongly. I wish I could spend more time here. So I'm so grateful for the emails popping up where I can just click the link. Oh yeah. Gotta set a memo, set a notice, set an alarm so I can get here. Yeah.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm so grateful to have you here too. And so Rob works a lot directly with Ron Gibson. I think you guys are doing an event soon, right? You guys just did one. You got another one coming up.
Yeah, we just did one in Wisconsin 2 weeks ago, and our next one is in southern Utah at the end of the month.
There we go. There you
Looking
go.
forward to that. Yeah, Ron and I partner on the land patent projects. And so yeah, I've had a lot of, been very blessed to have had such a close relationship with Ron and to work closely with him. This land patent history is an amazing discipline, subject matter. I'm just overwhelmed by how many women I've seen with original grants from the presidents and the governors, and Native people with original grants, names that I would presume are Black people that have original grants. And so this whole propaganda in the public, I just really struggle to believe that no one had rights to hold titles and property but white men and all of that. It's been a really revealing journey for me.
That's very interesting. So I didn't mean to cut you off there earlier, Oli. I just wanted to tell you that, well, I don't think Ron has read the books, but we're very blessed to have Rob with us, and who works directly with Ron. And Rob, by the way, I'm still waiting to hear back from Svetlana on planning our event together, but that's still in the works. I appreciate your patience.
Sure. No, we're looking forward to it, and we're ready when you are.
Yep. So that's coming within the next few months, for sure. So it's going to be a two-part thing where Ron Gibson is going to talk about land patents. Rob is going to give a lot of information about the law and history of law. And then day two, we're going to be bringing in some Russian Kins Domain settlement founders and people who live on their Kins domains to give all their experience and information and tie that all up into one big thing. So if anyone here is listening and doesn't know about land patents, I highly suggest going to check that out. But yeah, so we always wind up bringing that up, but it's super vital in these times. And that's another thing. And actually, to be completely transparent, one time Rob and I were on the phone together, and he asked me, he said, I presume a lot of the people in your community are like spiritual and like kind of like harmless, or maybe passive was the word that you use, Rob. And I was like, you know what, maybe to some degree, but surprisingly no. I think a lot of the people in our community would be willing to stand up for themselves if something ever happened. or would be willing to fight for themselves or protect love, as I like to say, you know, and to not be pushed around like all these stories that we were talking about earlier on this call, that Anastasia shared. And that's something really beautiful and really unique, you know, because unfortunately a lot of times in spiritual circles or whatever, people try to be like really harmless or something, and you know, not to say you have an intention to cause harm, but at the same time they won't have a spine and stick up for themselves if they need to, or take a firm stance and draw the line somewhere, you know. And I brought up this idea of protecting love and being willing to stand up for yourself, you know, whether it ever came down to a physical manifestation of it or just the will you defend your land? Like, you know, if you had a land patent, will you stick up for yourself and enforce it, or will you will you allow the government or some other entity to try to take your land away? You know, it's something to think about, because at the end of the day, we will, you know, have to you know, defend something at some point. So Rob dropped a link here in the chat for anyone who's interested to learn more about land patents. You can check out that link in the chat. But yeah, sorry guys, I just ate something earlier and I'm kind of digesting. Yeah, but this is an exciting conversation. I think we're touching on a lot of important things here, and would love to hear more stories about anyone's experiences with Anastasia. If you guys have them, I've got stories for days, but I don't want to turn this into the Gabriel hour. That was a really interesting topic. But yeah, it's so good to be here with you all. And like Rob said, people with open hearts, and you know, you guys all see the beauty in life and aren't just turning to the darkness and paying attention to the problems of the world, but we're here creating the solutions and manifesting, you know, paradise on earth. So yeah, I'm really grateful that we get to spend this time together and do these calls. You know, you get the emails, it says time for spiritual fellowship, and that's what I really feel it's like. You know, I hope you guys feel the same way here. I'm really trying to create a, you know, feeling of community and fellowship with all of us, because it's important as we start to build this movement. So yeah, I see Lauren dropped something. Shia Casa is an ancient word for fierce love, and it describes a lot of what we've been talking about tonight. Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody feel inspired to share anything related to the subjects we were talking about? I'm excited.
I'll jump in, Gabriel. We were talking about connection and communication with Anastasia, and every day I'm doing my own form of guided imagery. As Stefan and I both, we practice this literally every night together. And when we bring in the family, so Vladimir, Anasta, Volodya, and Anastasia. Anasta, for me personally, is the closest. She's the most like active, the most, I could see her accessible out of anyone. And I found that really interesting. It kind of threw me off guard. I was like, whoa, like I was not expecting that. And I've been curious about this and exploring this. And what I've realized is that the presence of Anasta has been so that's the word, yes, prominent with us as a community on those guided imagery calls. I cannot express it enough how much she has been there with us, because I'm familiarizing myself with her and this like presence she has, and then I'll go on the calls and I realize, wait a minute, this is the exact same presence and energy. So I encourage everyone to broaden the scope of how you can communicate with this family. It's a whole family, and they're each making themselves accessible through the ethers in very different ways. And Anasta is there. She's like, yes, I will help you bring in these living images. She's truly with us, you know, and blows my mind, like her energy. Oh my God, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. She's doing so much work just aside from the book, like, how do I say this? Like, she's her own entity and world and resource that we can pull from. And let's remember that, you know what I mean? If it calls out to you, like, jump in and explore it, because she's totally there.
Definitely. And I'm glad you jumped in and shared that in that way, because we were talking about Volodya earlier too, and I feel a really special kinship with him, because if I got my math right, him and I are pretty much the same age, potentially, maybe born, or at least, really, really close. And I've communicated with him a few times too, and his energy is tremendous, like amazing, this guy. And I don't know, I just feel him as a very dear brother. And if there's a different thing, I want to just caution. I know maybe you guys don't think this way, but Anastasia doesn't want anyone worshiping them personally, but it's more so that anyone who's willing and has an open heart, they're happy to communicate with and share with, and that's really it. So I don't really come from that place. I'm not trying to like communicate with people and send them my energy or something like that, but just want you guys to understand that's where we're all, I know that's where Arian's coming from, that's where we're all coming from. So it's not a weird thing. I mean, Anastasia is happy to talk with anybody who's open and receptive, and she's really accessible. I almost feel like she's on a cell phone. It's so easy to contact her, if you're open and your mind is calm. Paramhansa Yogananda says the heart is like a radio. It's just a radio antenna. When the heart is calm and you calm all that interference from the emotions and the emotional turbulence, you can receive those messages like an antenna. And it's really easy to communicate with somebody like Anastasia or Volodya or something like that if you just calm your heart enough and you're open, and just allow yourself to know. Check yourself sometimes, because you might be making it up. There's always that potential, but there's a lot of ways to confirm that you're not making something up like that. And anyway, this is all part of what Anastasia says, restoring our lost abilities. This is something that's inherent in us, that kind of communication and that kind of knowing. It's not anything strange. We're just growing into it more and more. We talk about psychotelepathic exploration of the universe in the books Anastasia's talking about. So communication like this doesn't really come as a shock.
Yeah, it's how most civilizations communicate with each other that are advanced,
Right. I mean, that's how our ancestors, communicated in past enlightened ages. And I had the great fortune of, I have the great fortune of being friends with a Buddhist saint, and he has done a lot of telepathic things with me. And the first time I met him when he was leaving, I was trying to get his communication info. I was like, how do we stay in touch? I really don't want to leave. I don't want to kind of lose you. And he was like, we communicate through the mind. He said it like with a Chinese accent, really thick Chinese accent. But he was just telling me. And the last time I saw him physically on New Year's, January 2020, he was telling me that whenever you need me, or whenever you have a question, just think of me and I'll be there with the answer, or I'll be there to help you, and there's beings of that state of consciousness who can do things like that. Anastasia is somebody who can help people like that in situations, because they're just able to, they're conscious and they're, able to do things like that. So they're more than willing, you know what I mean?
I go as far. Oh, sorry, Gabriel.
No, I was gonna say, I hope I'm not going too far out there. I'm trying to share a little bit more in general, but hope you guys are still with me here.
I'd go as far as to say that everybody has a unseen spiritual support group, and they can appear as like whoever they want to, kind of like you could be fooled any which way to Sunday by some beings posing as other, you know what I mean? So sermon's pretty important.
Yeah, I agree. Anastasia talks about it in the books, in the third book, she was talking about you can communicate with anything that you want to communicate with. And sometimes some entities in the universe will try to appear to you as if they were God or something, and they will try to say that you are special and you are wise and you are the chosen one, and we're sharing our wisdom with you, and that those voices are not true. I see a couple hands going up. I don't know whose hand went first, if it was Nancy or Jeanette. So if you guys want to.
I don't know why. I mean, I see my name as Zara, but you're calling me Nancy. So you're talking to Zara, right, Nancy?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Was your name Nancy on Facebook? I feel like it's.
Well, it is. I mean, it's my first name, but I go by my middle name, so it's just.
I
It's not. I don't mean to
apologize.
confuse. No, I don't mean to confuse. But I thought it says.
I just recognize your name from Facebook, and I keep thinking Nancy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'll call you Zara. I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. Anyway, I raised my hand just really for one reason. I was inspired by the sharer of the guided imagery, because I've always been talking about that, even when I was at the Readers Conference in Turkey in 2009, and I sat with Vladimir and stuff. That conference, I kept saying, let's do guided imagery, but it really didn't get very well organized because there were so many Russians and there weren't enough translators and stuff like that. It was an interesting conference, Readers Conference, that I went to in 2009. But I was going to say, I don't know why I just interjected all that, but that's the only story I have with the family, I guess, is that I actually have sat with Vladimir at his table having lunch with him. Of course, we couldn't really communicate very well without translators. But I wanted to just put it out there, or ask you, and I probably should just wait till after, but other people might want to know this too. I saw that this meeting is being recorded. Is there any way that we can get access to the recordings? Are they on the foundation site, or like those past meetings that you've had with the guided imagery? Is all that accessible, and is it kind of like self-explanatory, and I just have not familiarized myself with it?
Yeah, Zara, great question.
Thank you.
These will be posted on YouTube afterward. So in the next day or two, expect to see this on YouTube. And Ariane has been recording and sharing her guided imagery calls as well. And those are on the Anastasia Foundation YouTube channel as well. So if you just type in Anastasia Foundation imagery, you'll see all
perfect.
Ariane's calls on there. People are loving them.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your questions, Jeanette. Really appreciate it. Ariane, I just want to do a shout out to you for the imaging, the calls that you do on Thursday, the pristine imaging calls. I've been on several of them since you invited me, and they are just so wonderful, heartwarming, uplifting, inspiring, and I super feel the presence of Anastasia come through on those calls, and I'm feeling her presence immensely powerfully right now, and I'm just so very grateful. So grateful.
For sure.
I'd like to ask if the last Russian American call is on YouTube.
So Winston, who's part of our team, if you go on the foundation website and click on the team page, Winston went through and did timestamps of the entire video. It's a 3-hour call, and we've got timestamps for the entire 3 hours. So if you look in the description of that video, you type in Russia America Exchange #2 Anastasia, it'll come up, or I can link it in the chat.
Please.
But that's a masterclass on starting a KINS domain settlement. It's literally probably the best content in the English language on how to start a KINS domain settlement.
Please put that in the chat.
I've got you. And the guy that we spoke with mainly has been running a settlement in Russia for, I think it's like close to 25 years. And it was incredible. And I will drop that in the chat right now. So there's also a bit of a summary as well that was typed up. Let me put this in the chat. Yeah, I'd recommend everybody check that out. Sorry, I'm having a problem. There we go.
The chat.
There we go.
Thanks so very much, Gabriel.
Yep. And so all of those will be posted and shared going forward. I don't know if you were here in the beginning, Eliyahu, but the next one is going to be with founders of schools who are following like Shatinan's method. And that's going to be really exciting. So that's February 26th.
Thanks. Yeah, I was here in the beginning. I'm looking forward to it a lot.
So yeah, that's 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Pacific time. I know it's early, but we've got people in Moscow, so we have to accommodate. So Jeanette, I saw that you've had your hand up. Thank you for waiting. Appreciate your patience.
Yeah, no problem. So I just wanted to speak to that bit about telepathy, because I really think that we all have that innate ability. It's just whether, we are in touch with it or can relax enough to allow it to happen. I've done a lot of working with, well, not working with, but just researching this place. It was close by to where I grew up. It's called the Institute of Noetic Sciences.
Yep.
So IONS. And I love them. Yes. And I am actually participating in a current study of telephone telepathy because, I just have always, I've always been the kind of, I've always had this experience where I could think of my sister or my mom, and like 30 seconds later, they're calling me. And so I thought, oh, I can totally participate in this study. It was almost like, well, we don't even need to have this study because yes, it happens. But so
why are we studying this? We all have experienced it.
Yeah, but that's a great place to they really research a lot of not esoteric subjects, but like things that science sometimes doesn't want to touch but needs to. So anyway.
Yeah,
that was
like
just
what you would call metaphysical, but that just means like above physical. And yeah,
right.
Yeah, IONS is great. I think we have some friends there in my network.
Yeah.
May I ask how many KINS domains there are currently established in the United States, and also how many there are in Canada currently?
So individually, there is a lot of individual KINS domains in the United States and Canada. But as far as, so to give a rough number, if I had to guesstimate, there's got to be like a couple thousand at least individually, like 2.5 acre KINS domains. But as far as settlements, there's not really any that you could say is a true KINS domain settlement. A few have come and gone, problems due to financial squabbling or disagreements about ownership of land or personal issues and things that kind of drove them apart. And I think the interesting part of that is that we as a greater community could learn from those experiences and not repeat those things. And I did a podcast about this like a while ago, but it was this idea of when you go to create your KINS domain and create a settlement, really, it's not that you're coming together just to form a community. You're not just like building a community. You are creating your individual space of love for your family first. And that's the main thing, is that you are coming together with other people whose intention is to do that. And it's not really like I'm here just to build a community. It's like, I'm building my space of love for my family. You're building your space of love for your family. And we're all building our spaces of love together. And it's different than kind of just forming a community. And so why I share that is that this idea of building communities actually has caused some communities to not succeed, because people forgot that they were there to build their space of love and not just to build a community. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing. And a lot of, you know, well, in Russia, they're obviously a lot more successful, but so no large scale settlements yet. I don't even think really small scale settlements yet. There's one thing happening in Arizona with a friend of ours, but he's restructuring his community to have more Ringing Cedars readers. So yeah, we're still really early. It's still early. There's a lot of individual kins domains though. For instance, I know like I was in upstate New York, and there's a large community of Russian Ringing Cedars readers in upstate New York who have kins domains. They're all individual and they all know each other, but there's that. And all over the country, there's isolated things. So we're at the stage where we're trying to unify people more and help the larger settlements start to pop off a bit.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
And
So, no, go ahead, Mark.
how do you access the guided imagery sessions?
Ariane, you want to jump in?
Yeah, and remind me, Gabriel, to ask you a question after, because I'll probably forget. So they are, if you go on the North America Anastasia YouTube channel, you're going to have a variety of playlists there. So you go into playlist section and you're going to see pristine origin guided imagery. And we have quite a few up. So you have quite a few from the summertime. So the original guided imagery journeys that we started off together as a community. And then as of, I would say, almost 2 months now, I've been posting regularly. So that's where you can find it on the YouTube channel. And I also post it up on the Telegram chat, usually within the following 24 hours of that Thursday. And I also post it up on the community platform. So you can find,
Let's do it
yeah.
live.
And oh, sorry, your question was live, sorry. The live meetings are on Thursdays. It's every second Thursday. So the next one is going to be this upcoming Thursday. And that's 5 p.m. PST. So it's 8 p.m. EST.
And it'll be, there'll be notification on the foundation Facebook page?
Yeah, so Gabriel puts out an email actually.
Where it gets confusing for some people is that email that gets sent out, it's usually Wyatt's information session, which is what it leads with, and that's taking place on Wednesday.
Yep.
And then if you scroll a little further, that's where you're going to see the pristine origin guided imagery
They're
session.
posted
So you
together.
get both links together in
Yeah.
one email.
Yeah.
So I put all the, I try to put all the weekly events in one email to try to prevent sending too many emails to minimize our unsubscribes. But yeah, so it's in, kind of chronological order. It's Wyatt's on Wednesday, Ariane on Thursday. And we'll also be adding Agatha, who is our Ringing Cedars call host in Europe, who's doing community calls like this in Europe as well.
I have a question about the European community calls. Has anyone here joined them, and like what was the experience like? I haven't made time to join, but I'm just curious, is the community large like this on those calls, or?
So the first call, Agatha told me it was like 20 people who joined.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was like 20 people who joined, and I think there was like 3 Americans, she told me, something like that. And if you look on the community platform website, like almost half of our membership is from Europe. And Europe is pretty on fire. So the community calls in Europe are pretty well attended. The last one she said was like 15. First one was like 20. And she did a meditation too recently, which was like 13 people, 15 people, something like that. So it's going pretty well. Ariane, did you wind up joining one of those, or am I mistaken?
So I joined the one prior to the meditation. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to highlight someone on that call. So Xenia, I'm not pronouncing her name properly. Zhenya. So she was on that call and she gave a phenomenal presentation. She actually went out of her way to have a full presentation of a KINS domain. Where was it?
Belarus.
KINS domain. Sorry?
Belarus.
Oh my God. So impressive. I wanted to reach out to her after and just thank her. She went through a lot of effort to present that to us, and it was so inspiring. She really went out of her way. So she's an absolute gem, and I really appreciate her and the community for going to that extent.
Yeah, Agatha told me that it was a really good presentation. So those calls haven't been recorded because of like privacy law concerns in the EU, but we're trying to like sort that out and make sure that it goes. But yeah, I get the calls have been really well received from everybody that I've heard. I think Zhenya has actually joined a couple of our calls, but she lives like in Poland or something. Hi, Zhenya, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm sorry to be talking about you like this. But yeah, she's joined us a few times. She's amazing. So yeah.
I have a question for you, Gabriel. Did you see the latest post I put up about Alosha and his wife and that? Yeah, I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were, or anybody's thoughts on that initiative.
So I was in contact with Alosha for a while, potentially to be a affiliate, helping promote his sustainable water and like home building courses, setting up your own water systems and stuff. So Alosha like has traveled around Russia from my understanding. Alosha, if you're watching this, I'm not trying to speak on your behalf. We didn't talk too much, but anyway, from my understandings, he's traveled around Russia, and one interesting thing is that he like was talking about why settlements were failing for various reasons. Not every settlement in Russia is a thriving settlement. Some of them have more issues than others, and so he had identified a few of the issues as to why they were failing. Personally, I believe his whole outlook was too negative, that too many of them were failing. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that the settlements are failing nearly at the rate that he may have believed. I went there too and didn't look like it was failing at all. Anyway, we talk with a lot of people in Russia and it doesn't look like it's failing. Just, certain settlements will have their issues. But Alosha's content is pretty good if people are looking to build their own like earth homes and build like water systems and things like that. I don't know too much about it, but we were in contact for a little bit, and I just think he thinks a little too negatively about the current state of affairs in Russia.
I think the only thing I like watched the video pretty thoroughly, and I like actually subscribed. He has a Telegram and he has a kind of like an extensive website. And the only thing that stuck out to me was that the home was built. And as a person like wanting to create a settlement and a home, I find that having a home pre-built for me, not saying I can't get a prefabricated kit, but built for me that I'm moving in, I feel like it lacks a little bit of like an essence there, right? I mean, that's just like how I'm thinking. Maybe somebody else doesn't think that way, but I don't know. That's what his offer was, at least in that last video.
Okay. I didn't see that. Yeah, I'm just going off what I had communicated with him before. So, Ariane, I'm sorry I didn't see that post specifically.
Yeah, he's essentially building waterlariums. So waterlariums are essentially, it's a home that's fully sufficient. You're not going to have to pay electricity, water bills, no mortgage, not like you pay a lump sum, and he will build this fully self-sustaining home for you. And I think it's like 2 acres. Everybody has 2 acres each on. It's like an abandoned land. I think it's like 1,000.
The way it was being presented is that there's several villages that are basically becoming ghost towns, and so there's a lot of land that's being put up and available, and they've been slowly acquiring some of that land, and it seems like there's an opportunity, and he's calling out for international people to come over, even saying that there's they found ways to give people 3-month visas so they can come and try it out. And they've also shared how there's a few different ways that you can actually get citizenship. One of them being if you have $200,000 in the bank, or if you have $160,000 in the bank and you're able to employ at least 10 people with your business. So there's quick, accessible ways of gaining citizenship. So
that's Russia, Stefan?
Yeah, that's in Russia, and he's looking to get the first family into the Waddlearium property, which could be anywhere from 2 to 5 acres, by as soon as October 2022. And then next year, they're going to have another 2 Waddleariums, which is basically like a next-gen Earthship. He has a really good comprehensive 30-minute video where he describes what a Waddlearium is. But it's basically like an ultra cold climate Earthship. And yeah, so that's what we were wanting to just bounce off of you, because we just came across it. It looks very compelling. He's reaching out internationally for people, and you know, which would include a general work site space where, you know, all high ticket items for any type of machining and construction that you want to do would all be in one location, and you can all collaborate on different projects so that not everyone has to buy a whole bunch of tools. So anyway, it's a neat concept, and yeah, I'm sure we're going to see more and more of these initiatives as we move forward.
It's interesting. He's a really talented natural builder for sure. He's got some really interesting YouTube videos and things like that. So if you guys are into building your houses out of, you know, 100% natural materials and stuff, I mean, he's got some great stuff. Stanley, I see you got to go. Thank you for joining. Very glad to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, guys, I mean, we're starting to get a little close to the 2-hour mark here. This has been a really exciting and inspiring conversation. Ryan, good to see you, brother. Take care. We've got people signing off here, but I feel like maybe a natural end to this call is approaching. So I just want to ask you guys for a bit of feedback. I'd love to hear how this call has like inspired you, or something that you're taking away from this call, or if you're enjoying it, or what parts of it that you enjoy, you know, just so we can kind of capitalize on that more, and helps me understand how, you know, the kind of impact that we're making. So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts if anybody would like to share.
I think the coolest thing is like being able to look at faces, you know, and they can be in completely different parts of the country, and we can really have this open forum of sharing personal experiences, sharing ideas that are impersonal, and it can be a blend of both. And I think it's fascinating and it's empowering, because, you know, you realize again that irrational fear of, you know, being alone in your own space, you know. I think that the prevailing, the current affairs tries to do a very good job at convincing us that, you know, we're isolated and we're the outliers. We're not normal, you know, we're not rolling with the flow of everybody else. You know, we're not in fear mode. So it's, for me, on my end, it's very empowering to see all your faces, and it always lifts me up. I mean, there's moments in these calls that, like, my heart is just like racing. I like tears forming in my eyes. And then there's moments where, you know, you're just like super contemplative and you might reach out to someone new. So you always leave, I feel, more connected to the dream. And that's my biggest takeaway out of this, for sure.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm glad that, you know, that's the experience, because I feel the same way. I feel just as inspired as everybody else after these calls. I get off these calls and I tell my wife for like half an hour everything that we talked about. And she's always super excited to hear everything. And she's like, you're just buzzing with energy, and she's like, you're tired sometimes before the calls, but when you get off, you're like jumping around. So I feel the same way that you all feel. And I just like to hear everybody's experience. You know, it's very encouraging for me, and helps me know that we're doing things in the right way here. So
a virtue that I really appreciate about these calls is trust, and specifically trusting in the unknown, and showing up knowing that I won't necessarily know what we're going to be touching on today, but I know that whatever we're going to touch on is exactly what I need to hear today at this point. And I love how, let's say, it's divinely guided and directed in that way, with a little bit, you know, a few handrails along the way, like allowing new people to introduce themselves. So, and often that's what ends up guiding where we go with a conversation. it's always very meaningful.
Wow.
So
Thank
I
you.
like the style.
Thank you, Stefan. I appreciate that. And that's basically my intention when I come into it, is that, you know, exactly as you're saying, that we will, I don't know what we're going to talk about, and I try to introduce a few ideas and see where we go. And it always, it's something greater than us that is coming through us when we come together like this, you know, and I try to make a space for that to manifest itself. And it always does in a magical way. And I'm always glad to see how it comes through.
Come here.
And it's really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that, brother. I appreciate that. So I think.
May I?
Yeah, please.
All right, great. You know, this is my first call with you, Gabriel, and thank you for making it so comfortable and easy and inviting and welcoming.
That's my goal.
Lots of space for everyone to share from their hearts and their souls. It's really precious. And speaking of precious, Stefan, happy birthday. Happy birthday, happy birthday, we love you. Happy birthday, you're a soul so true. When you blow out the candles, one light stays aglow. It is the love light in your eyes, where'er you go.
Yeah, there we go. That's a happy birthday for Stefan.
Yeah, is that an Eliyahu original?
What did you?
An Eliyahu original?
Huh?
Is that an Eliyahu original?
It is.
Oh, Michelle, tell them where it's from. The song.
It's a song from the 1800s. It's a birthday song from late 1870s.
Wow.
The melody. Da, 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 da. It's a shaker kind of a melody.
Oh,
beautiful. Thank you.
It's going down in history with this recording.
Or some kind of folk song, something. But someone put those words to it.
And
Thank you. It was beautiful.
His birthday.
And then I kind of embellished on those words a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Okay.
Had some poetic license there.
Oh, happy birthday.
Beautiful, guys. Well, Eliyahu, thank you.
My wife, Michelle.
Hi, everybody.
She is an amazing woman that I am so incredibly blessed to be married to for 22 years now.
Vice versa.
20 years now.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
So, Ariane, did you get my, hi, everybody. I know I'm talking in the middle of a meeting, sorry.
That's the tail end of this sharing.
Did you get my email about doing the sound healing tomorrow on Valentine's Day?
I will check that out immediately. I
I sent it. If you want to send it to this group, we're doing, I have a crystal bowl orchestra, and I'm doing a sound healing for healing ourselves and healing our planet on Valentine's Day at noon. And so it's going to be a worldwide thing. There's going to be people all over the planet doing it at noon their time, so that there will be a vibrational movement around the planet at everybody's noon. And everybody's doing whatever form of sound healing they do to help heal our planet and open our hearts in a unified field on Valentine's Day.
And our Valentine's Day noon is California time.
Yeah, California.
Santa Cruz.
Well, Pacific
time. Yeah.
So
sounds like
you're all invited if you want. Ariane has the information.
Or we could put it, and we could also put it in the chat if you.
You want me to send the Eventbrite? Okay. Anyway.
Can you type it into the chat?
I'll be back. I'll be back.
So.
All right.
Yeah, that was beautiful, man. Eliyahu, thank you for joining us and for sharing what you had to say. You know, it's definitely my intention to make this feel comfortable for everyone and for everybody to share from their heart and soul. And so I'm glad that that comes across and that people feel that way, because it's really special to me for people to feel that way. Because I just recognize how important it is for all of us to have some time together and speak with other people who are true and, you know, see things the way that we see them. Spiritual fellowship, you know, very important. So thank you guys for your feedback, and thank you for your time. And I'm overjoyed to see you again here in 2 weeks. And oh, Kathleen dropped a comment. I read the books years ago and had no idea there was a group. I'm so happy you've done this. I'm rereading them now. Kathleen, that's why we do this, you know, to bring all the readers together and to keep the inspiration and the dream flowing. And so I'm grateful that you know, to have your attention and for you to be here. And, you know, please check out the website and join our greater community and everything that we have going on. It's just going to continue growing. And thank you all for your time. Thank you for spending this time together with me and everybody else. I'm really grateful. So we'll be back here in 2 weeks, and keep an eye out for all the other events. The Russia-America Exchange is on the 26th, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Pacific time. You guys want to be there for that. The Vladimir Imagery thing will probably materialize in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Gotta talk with Nina for that. And more events coming soon. Ariane and Wyatt's calls are this week. The European Connection call is on Saturday. If you guys want to join that, I don't know. Anyway, thank you all. Many blessings, joy to all of you, my dear friends. And thank you. Talk to you soon.
You know, if you can give it a minute before you shut it down, Michelle's about to put in that link in the chat.
All right. So if anybody wants the link, stick around.
Hold on 1 second.
This will be the after party for the link here.
There it is. I just put the link in for Valentine's Day, noon Pacific time, for joining in a planetary heart opening for healing our planet.
That's beautiful. What a wonderful thing to do on Valentine's.
I look forward to getting to know you all at a time when I am more available, and send everyone blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, everybody. Zara, signing off.
Bye, Zara.
Thank you, Ken. So wonderful.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, much love, everyone.
Ellen, I'm excited for your event, by the way. Thank you for what you're offering to share with everyone. It's amazing.
What event is that, if I may ask, Ellen?
I'm not sure. Working on a couple different things with Wyatt, but we've talked about doing a seminar on just different things to consider when you're starting a community and looking for land. And then we've also talked about a conscious commerce marketplace. So I'm not sure which one Gabriel's referring to, but yeah, a lot of great energy and wonderful to connect with people who really love nature and, you know, are embodying Anastasia's. So it's really beautiful.
Are you looking for land, Ellen?
Personally, I'm looking for all of it, you know, like a piece of land, the community, you know, everything that feels very rich. You know, like a lot of us, I think, have a similar idea. We're just not sure where or when it's all going to come together.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
Yeah, we're definitely open to that. We are absolutely.
And desiring that.
Beautiful. All right, my friends. Take
Thanks
care,
so
everybody.
much.
Bye-bye.